Hey again guys, and I'm going to ask you to indulge me for just a moment, if I may, while I try and explain to you why I'm calling this part 1 of the Transformers Inferno series. It's because we have been spending time lately looking at the deluxes for Wave 3 of the Power of the Primes line. Well, naturally that should lead into the Voyager for that wave, which would be this guy, the Power of the Primes Voyager class Inferno. But in order to kind of do this guy justice and talk about him, I feel like we need to take a step back in time. So for part 1 of 2, I'm going to ask you to go back a decade with me when we focus on this guy. This, of course, is the Universe 2008 Voyager class Inferno with several custom paint apps. And he's where our attention is going to go today in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. Like I said, this is part 1 of 2, and I feel like we need to discuss this guy before we can kind of give accurate and fair coverage to the Power of the Primes version of Inferno. I'm going to ask you to check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, me everywhere. Please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, man. Stick around and have some fun with us. And yeah. So, what can I say about this? For the last decade, this has really been the gold standard for a representation of Inferno if you are a collector of the Generations line, which I mostly am. It came out in 2008, and it's a pretty solid mold. It's a nice version of Inferno. It kind of captures his bulkiness. We certainly have the correct windshield on him. No, he's not perfect. I mean, he lacks his ladder and back. The red on this guy is probably darker than it should be. And he does have this, like, water cannon thing, which I guess could sort of be explained away. I mean, he has 2 hands. Really, he should have 1 hand and one kind of blaster nozzle thing. So I can sort of forgive this because it kind of takes the place of that blaster nozzle thing. This was given a more accurate red in his Japanese release. And it was even repainted blue to be Hotspot. It was repainted red to be Hotspot too. I don't know why. I think it became Artfire at some point. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Autobot Spark. Maybe from a BotCon. I'm not really sure, but the mold has been used often because it's a solid mold. Granted, it's probably showing its age a little bit, but it's been a successful one and it's fun. Involved, but not too complex. Is it the best version? Well, that's up for debate. The best way to find out just how good he is for us to take a few minutes, head over to the table, and take a closer look at him. And so here we start part 1 of our Inferno series, and I'm showing the use of the 2008 Inferno with Grapple. Grapple was the remold. A lot of people think it's the other way around. They think Grapple came first and then Inferno. No, in fact, Inferno came first and then Grapple. Solar Storm Grapple, if you will. I don't know what Solar Storm has to do with grappling. I don't know. They're pretty similar. Different head sculpts. The forearms of Inferno are squared. Compared to Grapple, they're rounded. Of course, Inferno has this hose shooter thing because he's a fire engine. I guess this type of fire engine has that. I don't know. Hook, of course, has, Grapple has, as you might expect, a grappling hook. So, you know, there's those differences. But, of course, this isn't a comparison between these two guys. I just have Grapple put in here to give us an indication of kind of how the mold has been used. This, of course, is a look at this guy designed to lead us into the Power of the Primes version. So we're going to take Grapple out of it there now. Now, I'll say this. I looked at Grapple a long time ago in episode 28. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. None. Not a clue. But I went back and I watched that footage to give myself an idea of the sort of scores that I gave him And we're going to use that as a basis for this guy. You would think that they should be similar scores, but we'll see if I've gotten kind of more critical as time has passed or not. In terms of how big this guy is, well, something a little more modern. Here he is with, and this is going to be a very telling comparison. Here he is with the Combiner Wars hotspot. So you can see there, I mean, they're definitely a similar size. Actually, I guess I should move this over just a little bit. They're definitely a similar size. I think that Inferno's probably a little bit taller. We're going to see both Infernos next to each other in part 2. So don't worry about that. But there you go. There's the idea. Now, paint apps. I have this guy custom painted. I'm going to just try and reorient things a little bit better so that we can see that a little bit clearer. I hope that's clearer. I added a red color there on the thigh, on the front and the side actually. Lifting this up, I did his entire bicep in that same red color, which by the way is called Fire Engine Red. I added silver up here on the shoulder, and I made his, if I can maybe get that out of the way, he does have the little, I don't know what you call them, head crest things. I made those silver, and I made his like earpieces gold as it should be. So I did do kind of a significant amount on this guy to try and make him as animation accurate as I could, considering that the red is a darker red than I think it really should be for the character. As such, fresh in the package, he was a bit more of a closer homage to the G1 toy. I would have given his paint apps around a 7. With the work I've done, I give them about an 8. If you had the Japanese release of this guy, I would say those are more like a 9. None of them are an absolute 10, but the silhouette is pretty good, and I can accept this color. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm cool with it because it is a nice rich color. I kind of find it surprising that it's called Fire Engine Red, because fire engines aren't quite this shade of red around here. I don't know if they are where you live. Now, that being said, I did custom paint apps on this guy. I'm giving him an 8. I gave Grapple a 9. Truth is, looking back, I think I probably should have given Grapple an 8 as well, especially since the head isn't quite the right color there. So, we're starting off with an 8. Nice start. Nice start. Just making note of that 8. Okay, now, what about the articulation for this guy? Well, I had given, for Grapple, I had given the articulation an 8. What about for this guy? Well, the head, it can go left and right. It can look up a bit. It can look down a little bit. The arms go all the way around on nice ratchets. This whole piece here, it can move. You can have it out to the side or on the back. I keep it on the side on Grapple, and I keep it on the back on Inferno just to make it look a little different. But it can go all the way up to get out of the way. We have elbow to 90 degrees. We have a bicep swivel. We have rotation at the hand. I mean, all of that is fantastic in my opinion. Do we have a waist? I'm pretty sure we do. We don't have a waist. Not that I can see. We do have legs out to there, back to there. We have a knee to 90 degrees. We have a thigh swivel and then a below the knee swivel. It's like 2 leg swivels. It's really kind of weird. It's for the transformation. I don't know if that sort of makes up for him not having a waist. He has no ankle tilt to speak of. Now, what's interesting is with Grapple, I noticed that he could only get the arms out of the way. Oh, and the arms go way out to the sides too, by the way, if I didn't mention that. I said he could only do the splits out to there. Kind of. You can turn the thigh out to the side, and then he can kick all the way out. Turn the thigh to the side, and he can kick all the way out. Now you might say, hey, now his legs are stuck that way. No, because of that below the knee swivel, you can kind of fake that he can do the splits. It works. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. It's a bit of a series of odd movements, but hey, it works if you want to get him in a more, I don't know, dynamic pose, I suppose, if you want him doing the splits, I guess. Put that down. He has large feet. He stands like an absolute champion. Truth is, I think that the articulation, it was an 8. I didn't know that we could do that with the thighs. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I think it's solid articulation. And everything moves nicely. Like, everything feels right on the guy, man. It just feels right. That leaves us with the transformation. We're going to go from robot here to his vehicle mode. So let's do it. This shouldn't be too bad at all. We've already done it once before, so let's hope that it's not too bad at all. We're going to just flip this down on the side. Flip this down on the side. I haven't done this in a while, so we'll see how it goes. The head will rotate back, but before we can rotate it back, we need to pull this piece out. Now the head can flip back. Now, when it goes in, it sort of locks in. Same thing with grapple. When you're transforming this back to robot mode, you have to push on the siren light here. Siren light? Emergency light. And it pops it up. It's spring loaded. So we'll put that back in for now. And we kind of bring that up just like that over where the head is, and then have this piece that's molded angled out straight. Okay. We have these sections out to the side. And we kind of angle these legs back for now. Or these arms back for now. Because everything kind of needs to go behind this guy. The waist flap, we bring that up straight. And then we angle the legs. So now everything, his arms and his legs are all up behind him. You swivel at the upper hinge on the thigh and swivel at the upper hinge so that the molded detail is now on the outside. You fold in the toes and you fold in the toes. And then you bring the legs together and the legs will peg into each other. We have like a peg and a slot here and a peg and a slot here. The slots are outlined with silver and the pegs are just left the color of the red that we have here. The, I don't know, maroony type of red. They are very secure when they peg together. Very secure. And we should have all of that up straight. Beautiful. Now that we have that done, we come here and we flip out the front tire and we flip out the front tire. We bring this arm straight out and then the entire shoulder hinges in. Oh, my mistake. We had the shoulder out like this. We need to rotate it up. And then it all hinges in. Ah, the absolute joy in going a long time between transforming a figure from both modes and trying to do it without instructions. I did make a mistake. This piece should be down straight. And then we bring the shoulders in. We bring this shoulder in. And then there's a series of tabs and teeth here. We tab that side in. And we just tab this side in. Like that. And over here. Just like that. We take the whole, I don't know what we call this, arm cannon thing. And we turn it around. Straightening up that foot. And we have the back of the vehicle now done. And last but not least, we have these things that were on his shoulders. And really all you do here is you flip this piece back. And in underneath you flip this piece out and you bring it down on the side. You do the same over here. You flip this piece back and there's that piece underneath that you flip out. You bring these down and of course they fit in right there on that side, and over here it just fits in the same way. To secure it up top and secure the shoulders, the two pieces that I had painted silver actually peg into each other. So peg those in. And I'll make sure I have all the little tabs and stuff in place here on this guy. And boom, in the end, here we have the fire engine mode. And just like Grapple, this thing rolls like an absolute champion. I love that we actually have red in around the tires. I mean, you don't see that anymore nowadays. It's a glorious thing, but a thing of the past. You saw me slightly struggle over a couple of things. I don't quite have this arm tabbed in here, though I thought I did. Trying to do it from a distance and over time. Yeah, you saw me struggle over a couple of things there. It's not because this is a hard conversion. It's really not. It's a beautiful conversion, actually. It's just I haven't done it in a while. It's really been a while. I've given the transformation a 10. I still give the transformation a 10. You know, when it's done a couple of times and you remember how everything moves and where it's all supposed to be placed exactly, then it's very smooth and it becomes very intuitive. So, in part 1 here, for Grapple I've given him an overall score of 9. Truth is, I still think that this is fantastic. I think that that was a little bit, just a little bit generous. So I'm going to say that overall this guy is an 8.75. It's a great rendition of Inferno. By the way, if you really want, there's like a button here somewhere, and like it can fire this thing. And it's clear plastic with like, I don't know if it's blue paint or what at the top, but it works like a water projectile, I suppose. Not something I really use, but you know, it would have been nice if he had a ladder. That's really the only gripe I can give. You know what? I wish his red was redder, and I wish he had a ladder. Besides that, I think the guy's pretty great. It's a mold that's been around for a decade, and it still stands as a high-quality Voyager class figure. And here we are back again. I like this guy. I like him a lot. He really stands as a nice representation of the character that he's meant to represent. Not perfect. I mean, he's not a masterpiece, but with the paint apps that I added, I think it certainly helped his animation accuracy. Enough that I think you would look at him and say, yeah, that's Inferno. I don't think you're going to mistake it. It's certainly more indicative of Inferno as a fire truck and as a robot than it is, I think, as the other Autobot fire engine, that being Hotspot. This seems like the body type for Inferno. And even 10 years later, there's a lot here still to like. That being said, in the aftermarket, he does tend to go for probably a little higher price than most people would want to pay for him. And if you want the Japanese version with the nicer red, the brighter red, that's even more expensive. Is he worth paying a little bit of a premium for? Well, that's up to you. But of course, we do have another option now. And that option is this guy, who we're going to talk about in part 2 of this series. In the meantime, let me know what you think about this guy. Do you like him? Do you not like him? Do you think he should be replaced or not? And, perhaps most importantly, did you miss out on getting him? And therefore probably have a bigger pull towards the Power of the Primes version. As always, I want to thank you for dropping by, for giving me some of your very valuable time. I do appreciate it. I'm going to say once again, please hit that subscribe button, stick around here and have some fun with us. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit during part 2 of this series, right here inside the videos.